I'm really sorry you're here today. I'm glad you made it, but I'm really sorry you had to be here today. So everyone who's here, I presume, knew Shirley or loved someone that she loves. So I'm going to ask a couple questions. I feel like Shirley had like this motto, which she never said out loud these words, but I feel like her motto was something like, don't stop. She didn't want to stop living. She wanted to be 100. She wanted to be more than 100. She wanted the doctors to try at all costs if something happened to her, and they did. And I have no idea how she didn't persevere this time, because she was one of the strongest people I've ever known. So if her motto was don't stop, don't stop. So don't stop life, but can you think of another thing that in her world, her motto would be don't stop? What? Call them out. Go ahead. Don't stop what? What was Shirley? Don't stop working. She worked in every second of, every single day she worked. She would come to services almost every Shabbat morning, and she would go right to work after that. She would work all the time. So don't stop working is exactly what I had at the top of my list. What else? Learning. Don't stop learning. She couldn't sit still without reading something. Hey, Parker. And so I would say learning. At the age of 70, we like to say 73-ish, because it's 3 times 20 plus 13, like another bat mitzvah. She didn't do a bat mitzvah service when she was a little kid, when she was 13. So she did it 13 years later. And then she was always the one who did, during the High Holy Days, she would read Hebrew sections and lead sections for us. Learning is one of the things that she did. And she was an inspiration to everybody, because she learned so much, it made us want to learn more. What else? Laughing. I was going to say laughing. It was on mine. She was a joyful person, and she loved jokes, and she got jokes of almost every kind, and that's what I think of when I think of her. I think of her most of the time. I think of her laughing. I think of her smile. I hear her laughing in my head. What else? Living? Giving. She was one of the most generous people I have ever met. I think giving is another one. And someone here had, what did you say down here? Trying. That's an awesome way of saying what I was going to say. That's awesome. Trying. She was not afraid to try anything, right? So as you get motivated by remember her, think about those things. Think about the don't stop. I wanted to do it in a positive way. I wanted to say, keep on, or something. But the point is, she was always motivated. And I would add to that maybe hoping. I think hope was one of a primary motivation or flavor in her life. It's no secret that when you talk to Shirley about death, she believed that it ended when you die. It's part of why she wanted to keep going, and it's part of why she wanted to squish as much as she could into life. And so this service I'm going to make a little bit different because of that, because of what it means. I believe that she is still here with us, minimally in the memories that we have and the stories we tell, and I encourage you to look around at everybody here, because everybody here has stories, not just, oh yeah, I remember, but stories about Shirley. I can tell you a bunch, but we'll wait until after and we'll tell each other the stories we have. And then we'll laugh, because that's what she would do. But, and I'm sorry, Shirley, but if there was something after, there's this, in the Talmud, in Jewish teaching, they say that when you die, these are questions that you would be asked in heaven, or asked when you die. And so I would like to suggest that if she was wrong, and if we were going to evaluate her life based on how she lived, even if she was right, all of these questions apply. So first, were you honest? What do you think about Shirley? Thank you. So the whole first row just went, ha! We knew exactly what she was thinking about things, even when it was not necessarily what we would have said out loud. And it was always, I have been the brunt of the honest. And so the first time it happened, and you probably all know this, that we had a musical service, all musical service Friday night, and most of it was me playing guitar. And she showed up again at services Saturday morning, and she pops her head in, and then she disappears. And we thought something terrible happened. And then I saw her that night. It was the opening night of the symphony. She was always supportive of the symphony. And I said, "Are you okay? We were worried about you." And she said, "Oh, yeah." I said, "What happened?" She said, "Well, I saw that there was a guitar in the room, and I listened to you play all night before. I didn't want to do it again." And so I sat listening to the first part of the symphony, thinking, she hates my guitar playing, and that it hurts my heart. Even if it's one person out of 400, it hurt. And so then at the intermission time, she came to find me, and she said, "Did I hurt your feelings when I said that?" And I said, "Did you mean to hurt my feelings when you said that?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Then you didn't hurt my feelings." And then I found out that she was a music major, which made it even more ouch. But then she complimented me many times on my guitar playing. And she complimented many times on me hearing the guitar. And it was just that morning, not what she wanted to hear for services. And it was a moment thing. But I would say yes, it's the first question. Yes, she was honest. Second was, did you leave a legacy? We didn't have enough room to fill in. I mean, look at this. Whether it's her generosity or the most important thing in her life was her family, she left a legacy. Did you set aside time to study? As I say, she was an inspiration to me. I study all the time. And she was always learning and always reading and always adding new information. And unlike me, she remembered what she read. And so she could teach. She would tell us things. She would bring up really wonderful information in almost anything she talked about. Because, yes, she set aside time to study. The fourth question is, I'm not making this up. You can find this in the Talmud. Did you have hope in your heart? I don't know that there was room for anything else in her heart. It was all hope and love for her family. The fifth one was, did you get your priorities straight? Absolutely. We already said, if you're on the internet and every third thing that pops up on anything you see are these inspirational posters or friends sending you inspirational things, and it tells you that at the end of your life, these are the things that you would regret. She had her priorities straight. I can't imagine, other than the fact that she really wanted to not die, I don't think that she would have changed her priorities at all. And I think that we could all envy her setting priorities, follow her example. Sixth question is, did you enjoy this world? And she did. And she traveled, and she loved, and she learned, and she watched. And the last question, there's a story about the last question. The last question was, the story was there was a beloved rabbi, and he was on his deathbed, and his students came to see him. And in those days, they had guy rabbis. And the students came to see him, and the students were sad, and they were crying, and they said, aren't you afraid of dying? And he said, no, I'm not afraid of dying. I lived a good life, and I'm not afraid to die. And they said, aren't you afraid when you get to God and God is going to judge you, that God is going to say, how come you weren't more like Moses? And he said, no. I'm very afraid, though, that God is going to ask me, why wasn't I the most me that I could be? Why wasn't I the best me I could be? Not like, why wasn't I more like Moses? And that's the last question. Were you the best you could be? And how do you think Shirley could answer that? Of course she was. We all know that. So, I am going to have a service here that's a little bit out of the usual, but I think it's one that Shirley would have loved because of the things that were her priorities. So I'm going to begin with some poems. And the child asked, "Tell me of life." And the sage answered, "Life, my child, is a mystery. We do not ask to be born, nor do we even understand the meaning of birth or creation. We grow, we experience life's pleasures and pains, we love, and slowly, oh so slowly, we come to realize that we have become, that we are. At that moment, we humble ourselves before the mystery of life and quietly say, though I knew not, I have been granted the most precious gift of all, the gift of life." And the child asked, "Tell me of death." And the sage answered, "Death, my child, is a mystery. It is the inevitable return of the gift of life, the gift which came free to us. We live as the trustee of that mysterious being, of that unexplainable becoming. Yes, you and I are but trustees of life. We nurture it, we delight in it, we give of it to others. And at the appointed time, we sadly, yet with pride, return it from whence it came. The beauty, my child, is that what we are, what we have become, remains long after the gift has been returned. It remains as a precious keepsake with our loved ones who live on. יש כוכבים שאורם מגיע ארצה, רק כאשר הם עצמם עבדו ואינם. There are stars above, so far away, we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. Gather the stars, if you wish it so. Gather the songs and keep them. Gather the faces of people. Gather for keeping years and years. And then, loosen your hands, let go, and say goodbye. Let the stars and songs go. Let the faces and years go. Loosen your hands and say goodbye. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch. A fearful thing to love, hope, dream, to be. To be, and oh, to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing, to love what death has touched. We remember Shirley and join our hearts together to give comfort and strength to her family. Mourning is a time filled with many emotions and memories, both bitter and sweet. We continue our service with the recitation of psalms and prayers of different kinds of poems, thus linking Shirley's life with the millennia-old tradition of the people Israel and the eternity of God. In your handout, at the top is Psalm 23. I'll start it first in Hebrew, and then I hope you will read it with me. מזמור לדוד. אדוני רואי לא אחסר, בנות דשא ירביצני, על מי מנוחות ינחלני. נפשי ישובב. We read together. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Eternal forever. Eshet chayil mi imsa v'rachok mi pninim michra. Please, in this version of the English translation. A woman of valor, who can find? She's more precious than fine pearls. Her husband trusts in her, and so he lacks nothing. She does him good, never harm, all the days of her life. She perceives that her labor is rewarding. Her candle burns into the night. She reaches out to those in need and extends her hands to the poor. She is clothed in strength and dignity, and she faces the future cheerfully. She speaks with wisdom. The law of kindness is on her lips. Her children rise up and bless her. Her husband sings her praise. Many daughters have done valiantly, but you excel them all. And with your indulgence, I would like to share a slightly different version, slightly different translation of that I found to also be profound. And Shirley, a mother of generations, a woman of valor. She is precious in the gifts that she has given to our family. Her children have found trust and truth in these gifts. We follow in patterns that she taught. She is robed in strength and dignity, and she smiles at the future. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. We benefit and learn from her wisdom. May she always be credited for the fruit of her labor and her achievements. May she live on in glory. I am told that the grandchildren would like to come up and say something to remind their memories, their words. Some of the grandchildren.
On behalf of all of the 11 grandchildren and 10 great-grandchildren, we'd like to share a few thoughts about our Grandma Shirley. Shirley was fun, full of life, and joyful. She always loved a good laugh and would get tickled easily. She was truly a Southern belle in every sense of the word. She loved to dance. She loved to go out in the town and love the symphony, to see musicals and the opera. We heard endless stories about her Mardi Gras floats, her USO parties, and all of her suitors. She was very competitive. She loved to play games of all kinds, cards, Scrabble, Rummy Cube. She's personally also responsible for teaching all of us how to play poker.
Yeah.
She loved to get dressed. She was always dressed to the nines for everything from travel to work to an evening out. She was independent. After the love of her life, Leo, passed, who would have thought she would become a self-made woman, learning the business, supporting her family, and raising 3 children? We couldn't have asked for a better role model in life. She became so independent that she traveled to see all of us and was there for every important moment in our lives and did whatever she could to provide for our futures. She was so generous, thoughtful, and selfless. She never bought anything new for herself and would rather give to her loved ones and to others. She supported so many charities, so much so that on a daily basis, her mail literally weighs 10 pounds. She dedicated her life to her kids and her grandchildren, and she was so proud of her family. and was truly the matriarch, the glue holding us together. Every night, it was family first. She would come home and call one of her children, or grandchildren, or great-grandchildren. She always wanted to connect us to each other and to our relatives, knowing how important family was. She took us on special vacations together growing up, organized regular holidays for all of us to meet together throughout the years. And she was such an amazing storyteller. She had such an incredible memory and would always tell us stories of our family growing up and how she had grown up. She would spend time talking through and showing us old photo albums to make sure that we really understood our family history and where we came from.
Shirley was the ultimate hostess. In a way, this feels like the last gathering that she was able to be a part of. We're all so proud of the impact she's had on this world and all of us who are thinking about her today. We are incredibly lucky to have her as our grandma and to have her be such an important part of our lives. We know how fortunate we are to have a tight-knit family, to have the tight-knit family values that Shirley has instilled in all of us. And it is now up to us to carry that torch forward and continue to prioritize spending time together and passing these values and stories on to our families and loved ones. We will all forever love you, Shirley.
One more thing.
Bread and butter.
All my life, Grandma has been a great impact in my life. She supported my music throughout Jerry. Jerry has been someone who inspired me to create music. And Grandma, she just is really happy that I get to be a part of music and creative fun. So I am dedicating this poem to my grandma because she is a phenomenal woman. This poem is from Maya Angelou. This poem is called A Phenomenal Woman by Maya Angelou. Pretty women wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size. But when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's in the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I'm a woman phenomenal woman, that's me. I walk into a room, just as cool as you please, and to a man, the fellow stand, or fall down on your knees. There is from around me a hive of honeybees. I say, it's in the fire in my eyes, in the flash of my teeth, the swing in my waist, and the joy in my feet. I'm a woman, phenomenal woman, that's me. Men themselves have wondered what they see in me. They try so much, but they can't touch my inner mystery. When I try to show them, they say they still can't see. I say, it's in the arc of my back, the sun on my smile, the red of my breast, the grace of my style. I'm a woman, phenomenal woman, that's me. Now you understand, that's why my head's not bowed. I don't shout or jump or have to talk real loud. When you see me passing, it ought to make you proud. I say, it's in the click of my heels, the bend of my hair, the palm of my hand, the need for my care, 'cause I'm a woman phenomenally. My grandma was phenomenal, and that's Grandma Shirley.
wonderful way to help Shirley on her next journey, the next part of the journey. So here's a little confession. We were not able to find what Hebrew name she was using. And in the prayers that we're about to say, we need to say her name. So with your indulgence, and certainly with the authority that I understand the rules. The name Shirley, if we pronounced it in Hebrew, is Shirley, which means there is a song or a poem for me. And it's her name, is Shirley. So I'm going to call her Shirley. There's a song or a poem for me, which is why this was her service. It was filled with poetry and it was filled with music, because that's who she was. She inspired us the way poetry and music does. And so I